Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now, the South African Union of Students says it is concerned about the lack of capacity from higher education to absorb the qualifying learners into the system. Those are the matric class of 2022. Now, the organization says of the 900,000 learners that sat for the NSC exams, only a minority will have access to institutions on higher learning. Now, let's discuss this further. We're joined by Asive Dlanjwa from the South African Union of Students. Thank you very much, Asive, for your time here on eNCA. Now, the statistics that you're showing are quite appalling. Out of the 720,000 matric pupils who passed their exams last year, universities across South Africa, TVET colleges, etc., combined only have space for 250,000.
Thank you very much, Masiko, and also greetings to your viewers. Masiko, you are correct. What we are dealing with is a peculiar and an unfortunate case in the sense that there seems to be an incongruence between basic education and higher education. The first level of incongruence is with regards to capacity. It is clear that higher education does not have the capacity to be able to absorb the learners that are qualifying to enter institutions of higher learning, be it colleges or universities. So for us, this is obviously very concerning. As we have heard the numbers, I mean, out of the 780,000 or so students that qualify to go to institutions of higher learning, we've got just about under 200,000 spaces. So that is definitely alarming for us. The second level of incongruence is that in any case, it would appear that the students whom are getting through the system, into the system and through the systems, that they have unmarketable skills, the majority of them. They are not able to respond to the immediate basic, or rather to the immediate socioeconomic needs of the country towards building a developmental state. So those are the two levels of incongruences that we speak about. But as far as the state of readiness is concerned, Masiko, we believe that the majority of institutions should relatively be able to get through this period with minimal hassles. Our concern has just been the fact that the release of the funding decision by NSFAS, we believe, was late. The 6th of February is very late. It could have been done earlier, so that we do not have a pandemonium post the release of the results. The second issue that we are probably concerned about is what we call missing middle students. Yeah. These are the students that are not catered for by NSFAS. This is critical for us. This is accounting for more than 20%. In fact, between 20 to 30% of the students that are in the sector that are missing middle students. These students also have outstanding debt from last year. They will not be able to register. We are very concerned. We are much more concerned that there does not appear to be a solution, a comprehensive, sustainable solution from government to be able to deal with this. Yeah. We have gotten into agreements between the department and institutions to say, let these students be registered. Even yesterday, we said this in our press briefing, let these students be registered without upfront payments. They can be made to sign AODs, but they must be registered. They cannot be excluded on the basis of the fact that they cannot afford to pay for their registration fees, because they have qualified and they have met the necessary academic requirements. So we're relatively just concerned about this type of students as far as state of readiness is concerned. And then obviously is the issue which we must mention, Masiko, before our time runs out, is the issue of gender-based violence, particularly during this time. Yeah. Because students do not have accommodation as they enter these institutions, once again, we spoke of the lack of capacity for institutions to be able to absorb these learners. It makes our students vulnerable to being exploited, in particular when it comes to sexual exploitation, by those who promise to give them either accommodation or admission.
Yeah. Asive, let me ask you this question because we have indeed run out of time, because you answered all my questions in just one answer. But just tell me very quickly, who is to blame in terms of there not being enough space around every university and every TVET college in South Africa combined, only having space for 250,000 students each year, when we matriculate so many, close to 1 million each year, only 250,000 are absorbed. Whose fault is it? Is it government's fault in terms of not building enough universities? And does this not also just exacerbate the issue around fly-by-nights and, people who are desperate applying there?
It is squarely government's fault in the sense that there would have needed to be sufficient planning. You see, the reality is this, Masiko. Our education, the whole system is just in disarray. it is not coordinated, and it is not aligned from the level of capacity to the level of content. Because even what the students are being taught in basic education, it's day and night the bridge that they have to make between that and entering institutions of higher learning. So the planning has been absolutely poor from government to build for instance, enough schools, but also schools that speaks to the demand of higher education, which also speaks to the demand of the economy, and also to be able to build a big enough sector. But we have a solution, Masoko, before our time runs out, to deal with this, even in the short term. We are saying if we invest in blended learning, such that we also invest in distance learning, we might be, in fact, we will be able to absorb these students into higher education without necessarily having to expand immediately the infrastructure in terms of building new universities.
Right.
It's just a pity that we're also collapsing ESCOM, and which will also undermine any level of meaningful distance learning, because how can people do distance learning without electricity?
Asive, thank you very much. We have to leave it there. I was hoping to discuss with you whether or not universities and TVET colleges are ready in terms of us being plunged into stage 6 and 5 load shedding lately so often, but that's where we have to leave it for today. That was Asive Dlanjwa of the South African Union of Students.